pixel. Single pixel on the monitor and screen that you're looking at. That is roughly the size of a singularity, if not smaller. Millions upon millions of millennia ago, something the size of a pixel on the monitor you're looking at now breached out of a seemingly infinite void to the outreaches that we now know as space to form the universe. From that singularity stretched out energy so hot and so complex that the mind in and of itself, without some kind of math or visual aid, could not even begin to conceive. And it began to cool, forming every single galaxy. Every single galaxy in the known universe. I don't know if any of you have seen the Hubble Deep Field photograph at all, but that one photograph is but a fraction. But a single fucking fraction. It's a sliver of our night sky. And it's from that one single thing, smaller than a pixel, on the monitor you're now looking at. Everything that we know came from that one thing. All of the galaxies. And out of all those galaxies, ours. Our single galaxy. Through the cooling of this mass, this extraordinarily massive expanse of matter, had cooled from the energy to form our solar system. And to the best that we know, two bodies within that solar system, within our solar system, had collided to form what we now know as home, what we now know as planet Earth. One volcanic body of carbon and magma, and the other of mainly water, at least as we know, which is to parallel, in a way, the Asgardian creation story. But that story could not even encompass what we know as reality. What has been mathematically observed, or mathematically proven through what has been observed. That infinite void, that infinite expanse, and in it a singularity that stretches out and creates what we now know as universe. And within those two bodies that collided to form what we now know as home and Earth, life sprang forth. And a millennia later, even still, intelligent life, capable of conceiving and observing those expanses. From the exact same material of the earth came I, myself. This one small, insignificant speck. All of my atoms and all of my molecules came from this earth. Which came from two celestial bodies within the Solaris solar system that is within the Milky Way galaxy, which is just one of hundreds of millions of galaxies in our universe. So small the chance that I would even exist. So small the probability that I would be allowed and capable of having this conversation, as one-sided as it may be. From the stars, from something as small, if not smaller, than a pixel on the monitor you're looking at right now, came I, and you, and everything. I very well might not have existed. I have no recollection or memory of what lied before I existed. As far as I'm concerned, nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what awaits me when I die. To return to that from whence I came. To disintegrate and let loose every atom and molecule that composes and comprises my body. And it's this that I think of on Thanksgiving. The human being, if not life in and of itself, is an extraordinarily complex system, full of incredibly complex concepts, such as pleasure and pain. And I, like so many others, have experienced my fair share of either and both. And yet, through the course of the chain of events that led to even my creation, I am imbued with the capacity to understand and appreciate that. I can take a look at all of the pains and ills in my life, and unlike any other human being, or at least any other human beings, can take a look at even that pain and just find the notion of the possibility of my not ever having experienced that mind-boggling. To wait in a void of emptiness for billions and billions and billions of years just to awake for a brief moment and experience pain, only to return back to an empty non-existence. Say what you will about pain, but the positive and the negative of it come from the judgment and concept that I have in even being a sentient life form. And very obviously, it's not simply and just pain alone that I feel. Otherwise, I would have no scale or margin for me to consider it positive or negative against. But then there's pleasure. The opposition to pain. Both rank within the realm of concept. Both rank within the realm of meta contemplation. A more honest person would take a look at pleasure and pain and link them both simply as stimuli. And the positive and negative of that stimuli being subjectively viewed by that which experiences it, by that which is stimulated. I might as well just be another human being who has no concern or care for the significance of my place in the universe, who has no concept of cosmology, who has no education as to what the origins of our universe possibly are. I might as well be another human being born in the mud, struggling tooth and nail simply to survive, never learning how to read or write, simply struggling to continue on. And yet, I myself have it within my capacity to take a look at all that I am and just be dumbfounded at how remarkable everything is. And that I also think of on Thanksgiving. I'm thankful not simply for existing. I'm thankful for everything that I see. I am thankful for every last part of my stimuli. And I'm thankful that I have it within my capacity and have had an experience that led me to even be thankful for it. I'm thankful that I can be thankful for it. I appreciate the fact that I have lived a life and experienced a life that has led me to appreciate that. Because I may very well be preoccupied with other things. Beyond the low probability of life on this planet, and a low probability that within that life that I would come, there is the low probability that I, as a life form, would be in the frame of mind that I am. And that I think of on Thanksgiving. I'm a determinist, which means that I'm of the opinion disputed still, but an opinion nonetheless, that the moment that singularity, that thing smaller than a pixel on the monitor on your screen, the moment it started to expand, the moment it began to break free into the infinite void, I was predestined to exist. The first domino that fell against the second and third. From the moment that singularity began to stretch and expand outward, I was destined to be. Through a course of physical law and material relation. Some find it depressing that causality and determinism leads a person on a course that is that cannot be deviated from. Some people find it depressing, the notion that chemically and materially, based off of the stimuli and impulses that we get, that we may not actually experience choice. It's within that people explore even what choice is, what it could be. Some find it depressing that choice could possibly simply be an illusory effect of being a material component of the universe. My thinking is why? Because it doesn't change the fact that here I am with the illusions that I have. Here I am with the flawed abilities to conceive my surroundings with my flawed five senses. And here I am speaking. Some find it depressing that I might not have a choice in the matter, that I am only reacting based upon pre-existing external stimuli. But again, I question why. Determinism or no, it changes nothing. The whole school of philosophy is not to dictate what is going on, but merely to transcribe and describe what's going on. The state of life as I now know it exists regardless of my philosophical religious predilections. God either exists or God does not exist. We either have free will or we don't. And that does not change what we are currently experiencing right now in the slightest. Our capacity to understand and perceive what's going on does not change the fact that we have something to perceive and that what we are perceiving is going on. The fact that we even perceive at all, the fact that we can even evaluate this material reality is something to be grateful for. And I think of that on Thanksgiving. And then there's the day that follows. Black Friday. A day for all the outlet stores and malls and hardware store, just about every store that we know of, to mark their prices down so that people can get the greatest deal on their Christmas gift. Perfectly understandable. And through the course, one can take a look at it and find it perfectly reasonable as well. I personally choose not to take part in the madness. And for the longest time, I just stayed at home and enjoyed my Friday. But a couple of years ago, I actually had to work on Thanksgiving and did not get off until 4 in the morning or so. The usual ritual was for me to go and bide my time for an hour or two until the local bagel shop would open, and then I would grab a bagel, a cup of coffee, and then I would make my way home so that I could go to bed. But on this particular Thanksgiving, it had totally slipped my mind that it even was Thanksgiving. And it had totally slipped my mind that it was now Black Friday. And so, as I'm driving to my local bagel shop, I found myself in a parking lot in a strip mall with an outlet store, and I see just droves and droves of people waiting in line. Curious why so many people would be sitting outside a Shopco at 5:30 in the fucking morning in the numbers they did. So I decided to check it out. It was only as I was parking my car that it clicked that it occurred to me that it was Black Friday. And being that I had spent so much time and energy trying to avoid this very thing, I decided to get out and investigate what it was that I was avoiding. So I sat in line with everybody else, chatted amongst them. Finally, the doors opened, and I walked in, watching people push and poke and prod each other out of the way so that they can grab, well, the product of their choosing. And I just walked, watching people smiling, watching people scowling, frustrated, in a hurry. Some people just stoked to get the best deal, 30% off on an Xbox. What are the odds that we would come to behave like this? And I'm not turning my nose up at the behavior. I'm just amazed at it. That after countless millennia, life would form on this planet. And ritualistically behave the way they do on Black Friday. The things that they purchase, the things that they buy are just marvels. A DVD player, CD player, coffee maker. All of these are completely indicative of what the human creative mind has become capable of. Technology, the manufacturing of technology. And there we are, bumping into each other, trying to get our hands on it for the best price possible. What are the odds that we would come to create a social and cultural construct such as economy for us all to agree upon, for us all to behave and yet our nature, our primitive nature passed down to us from our caveman ancestors. The thing is about Black Friday is that it's so based around competition and opportunism. What other day of the year can you find an Xbox for $200? Oh, and we need to be the one to get it. The individual, out there, sir, they need to be the one to get that Xbox for $200. Or at least one of the many, anyway. But still, a finite number of Xboxes at $200. So it's vastly and greatly important that we get that saving, that we get that deal. And I'm walking around this shopping center, just watching people in admiration, curiosity. And it occurs to me that I can hear music. It was being played on one of the displays for a DVD. I believe the song was a symphony from Mozart. And amidst the chaos and carnage that was the Black Friday massacre, I got to take a second and simply enjoy some Mozart. I've made it a point on Black Friday now to go out with the masses and not buy or purchase a single thing. To simply be a human being that elects to behave outside of cultural normative established behavior. One primitive mind out of the countless hundreds of thousands that simply chooses to revere their excellence. As a human being, to be completely and singularly outside the norm of behavior. To do anything else but what is normally expected on that day. Perfectly polite, perfectly cordial, and completely without desire. On Black Friday, I go out, and as egocentric as it is, admittedly, I do so to remind myself that despite what marketers and salespersons would have me do. I refuse to behave and act in the expected manner, because I'm better than that. And it's not to say that I feel myself better than any human being out there on Black Friday purchasing Xboxes, DVD players, CDs, TVs, Tickle Me Elmos, the whole lot. No, it's perfectly understandable, it's perfectly reasonable to see how people behave like this. Hell, I saw a laptop that I was half tempted to purchase. It's a 3-hour sale, marked down 75% off. Holy shit, do I want that thing. It's perfectly reasonable for me to want that thing. Hell, it's even perfectly more reasonable still for me to believe that I deserve to buy that thing. But the thing that kept me from purchasing it is the fact that I don't need it. Past wanting it, past feeling that I deserve it, I simply don't need it. It's not putting food in my belly. It's not keeping the rain off my head. It's strange how on this day that one such as myself would feel superior because I acknowledge how primitive my needs truly are. Amidst all this wondrous technology, the human advancement and accomplishments of our ability to tinker and rearrange items so that they do something useful. That I could just simply sit back and appreciate my own sentience and my own existence. So, if anybody out there is curious as to what an atheist spirituality could possibly be like, I would invite you to go out next Black Friday with your fellow human beings, wait in line, be treated like another sheep, be herded like cattle into a shopping center, and not buy a damned thing. Simply walk around, observe your fellow man if you choose to, listen to music if you choose to do that as well, but simply contemplate. Contemplate and use your mind for whatever purpose and reason that you see fit. You don't have to be like me and think about how wonderfully superior and smug you are compared to everybody else out there being the consumer. No, think about what you're making for dinner. Think about whatever you want, but simply think. use that completely improbable mind of yours. And see how you feel when you go home. Thanksgiving and Black Friday are two of my favorite days of the year. Because it's one of the very few days out of the year, series of days out of the year, I get to feel whole and complete and genuinely in a state of gratitude.